Attention comrades, have you ever wanted to play a Civ-like 4X game that wasn't Civilization? Well, Humankind might be the perfect game for you. The premise of the game is simple. The player starts as a nomadic tribe and can create its own unique civilization by combining existing cultures from different eras of the game. For example, in the first era you can be Babylonians, Olmecs, and so on. I think you could select from the 8 to 10 cultures per era, which were pretty different and had their advantages. Of course, some of them were far superior than the others because of their OP bonuses or districts. A case example of Mughals, their special district could give upwards of 25 production, plus it is possible to build it in every region of a city. So, if you had a city with at least 2 to 3 regions connected to it, you could possibly get at least 70 production by building 3 districts. And this much through my random placement of districts. Can you imagine what could happen if you planned everything? Yeah, an extra 100 production, my comrades, which can just break the game. And I'm not even talking about their normal bonuses and special unit. For the note, I will compare both games, the Humankind and Civilization, a lot. But this does not mean that Humankind is a simple copy of Civilization. Yes, a lot of things are similar, but never the same. Plus, Humankind sets out to achieve different kind of goals, and the core gameplay is a bit different. Visually, the game looks on par with Civilization, maybe even better, which is expected, since it's a newer game than the Civilization. You can even see small cattle running around on some tiles. When you advance in a new era, the game shows you how the architecture in the capital changes. This just makes the world believable and beautiful. Most of the units have different kinds of animation, which look good. Melee units move and attack in a believable way, which just looks cool. As far as I've understood, most of the players will customize their avatars, whose attire changes according to their culture, which just elevates the experience a bit. But the animations and the lines of the chosen avatars can get repetitive. For the audio, the sounds are meaty and satisfying. The sound of your Teutonic knights plowing through enemy lines never gets old. The music, to tell you the truth, was never the focus, but it gets the job done for the immersion. Battle music is really good, especially in the industrial era and so on. Overall, the presentation is good. There is still some time before August, but I don't think that devs would improve graphics more. Not that the game needs to. Gameplay. Probably the most important part of the game. In the beginning, the player starts with the single nomadic tribe. The first objective is to get first era star. You can either grow your tribe to 5 people, find 10 science curiosities, or hunt 3 animals, which also give you extra food too. It's best to focus on the first and the third ones, since both help you to achieve both of them at the same time. Before you advance, it's best to have at least 3 units, since they are also your population, and can be converted to a city to work on food production, gold, or the science. This is, in my opinion, one of the best things in a game. Your combat units need population to train. 1 scout means 1 population. So you'd better take good care of him. Don't sacrifice him. If you lose it, you also lose the potential food production, gold, or science out of it, which can hamper your economy altogether. The city building functions similarly to the civilization, with the difference that you don't work your population on the tiles. There are no builders like in Civ. Every tile improvement must be built through the city. each improvement gives a bonus to the food, production, gold, or the science, or better said, improves one of these, or a combination of all of them. You then work your population for the food, production, gold, or the science. One unique thing is the stability of the cities. This mechanic works like this. By building most of the districts, the city will lose 10% stability. If it gets below 30%, the city might rebel against you. It is possible to raise it by building non-tile improvements, such as irrigation, fountains, the stuff that most people will like, I guess. These kinds of improvements become available through researching the right tech and building the right district. Currently, I know about one district that raises the stability. One other district-like improvement is the garrison, that can raise the stability by 10% too, which can break this mechanic altogether, since you will have a city with at least 2 extra regions or outposts, which give you plenty of unused tiles for the garrisons. In my opinion, each time you build a garrison, the stability bonus that they give should decrease by 1%, otherwise you can just cheese through by building your version of the Great Wall of China or Great Wall of the Garrisons? I'm not an engineer, but my father is, so that counts, I guess. In any way, I was only able to experience land battles, so I can only talk about them. The devs finally nailed a perfect combat system for a 4X game. Of course, it mostly boils down to who has more advanced and henceforth powerful units, but now the battles function more RPG-like. When 2 units or group of them start a battle, they create a sort of a combat zone, where the players deploy their units and take turns battling their differences. If the battle takes place on top of a city, the city cannot build anything on a battle zone. These kinds of battles may even produce ruins near a city, which can be cleared if you want it. If a city has walls, then you have to commence the siege battles, which in my opinion are a lot of fun. It's a bit hard to trigger such battles since there aren't that much cities to conquer, and by the end of the first siege battle, the war with the other players will be over and cannot be started for a lot of turns. By that, I mean at least 10 turns, if not more. The sieges function a bit like in Rome Total War, for example, at least the preparation. Siege weapons can only be built during the preparation. You can start a siege battle right away, but it may become a bit too much for you. But the longer you siege a city, the easier it'll get. The wars are also done pretty good. The fact that you can't be forever in war with a player is a good thing, and pretty realistic, if I do say so myself. You can have a war with a player till the end of the time if none of the players attack each other, so that war support won't change much. But if that's the case, then why would you even start a war? Sooner or later, someone will attack. In order to start a war, you need enough war support, which can be acquired through winning battles against the player, or when other players make grievances against you, or if you have a certain perk of a certain culture. And logically, you lose it if you lose battles. If an enemy's war support is less than yours or goes to 0, then you can force him or her to surrender on your terms. This way you can get a couple of the territories or some cash instead, or create a vassalage. This way you'll ruin the whole game for a player, since if a player becomes your vassal, you'll get access to all of their resources, vision, and will help you in your future battles or wars. Plus, if anybody will commit grievances against them, they are committing them against you. So you'll get more war support and maybe add other players to your collection of conquered nations. Diplomacy is very interesting, since the behavior of the AIs comes not from the cultures, but some of the predefined archetypes that they might get. The way they conduct international relations may vary. In my opinion, these archetypes should be random when playing with the AIs, or better, change according to their culture of choice. I don't know if the AIs in the current beta had a predestined path that they would have taken, but the fact of the matter was that one of the AIs always chose Nubian culture and remained with it till the end. I mean, there is nothing wrong with it. He came on a second place in the end, so it worked out in the end. But most of them chose their cultures according to their archetype, which still was a bit random. Some of them were willing to trade with me, some of them even were able to create alliances with me, and a couple of them just went to war with me. This, in my opinion, is fine. But if the archetypes are set in stone, it might get repetitive. Now come the tech and civic trees. The tech tree functions the same way as it does in Civ 6, only the UI of it is a bit different. You select the tech tree you want to research, and depending on your science, it may take a long or short time. There isn't much new stuff added to it, so we'll leave it at that. But I get the feeling that there isn't that much text as in the Civ 6, but it works for me, at least. The civic tree is a bit lackluster, in my opinion. I expected a lot more than what it has now, and I get that its civic has two choices with long-term effects. That is why a bit of the plan is necessary in order to avoid a lot of stability loss. One problem that I found is the influence. After the medieval era, I could not find much use for it. The influence is the resource the player needs to create outposts, turn them into cities, or connect some of the outposts with the cities that are adjusted to them. Later on, you can also possibly connect cities with each other or let one absorb another. I never had any chance to do it, and it was never necessary in a beta. Maybe modern eras will change the course of the game, but my issue is that after the medieval era, I had so much influence and nothing to spend them on. I think that it would have been better if the special abilities of the cultures needed influence instead of the money. Next up is money, a sort of a magical resource. I never focused on it and I had thousands of it, which is a problem and should not have happened, I think. But maybe I was just lucky 3 times in a row, I guess. So how can you win the game? In Civ 6, for example, there are a couple of the winning conditions, like through science, culture, domination, religion, diplomacy, and that's it. You constantly have to think about them, since if one of the players gets ahead on one of these, then you have to go out of your way to disrupt them from achieving it. There is also possible to win the game through overall score that each player collects the whole game, but let's be honest, how often wins someone through score? From my experience, it never happened. And this is the main reason why I call Civ 6 a bit too arcadey. In Humankind, there are era stars that must be collected in order to achieve a new era. Some techs can only be researched after you advance through an era. These era stars grant you victory points, depending on how fast you achieve them. You also get extra points if you do something special, such as be the first civilization who invented its own writing, or find a natural wonder, or build an already known wonder. The victor is decided by these points. The one who has the most will take the first place. The stars are granted by winning battles, researching techs, gaining population, building districts, getting money, and influence. Best part is the fact that you don't have to focus on all of them. Only a couple of them will secure you enough stars in order to advance to the next era and possibly come up on the first place in the end. The best example would be Nubians in this game. They were pretty behind, were losing wars against me, but still they were placed as second in the end. The whole game there was this one rival who was always behind or ahead of me a bit, and I always thought that she could possibly contest the first place, but in the end she came as the third. I don't know what happened on the other continent, but Japanese probably helped me in that. Thank you, Japan. I have to say that playing aggressive does pay off. After beating 2 players, the third one, the Nubians, could not stand a chance. Plus, it gave me enough stars to go way ahead of the other players. After describing the era star system, it does sound as the Civ's winning conditions, but with a bit more freedom to it, which brings more casual nature to the game. On the winning screen, you will see you and other civilizations and how they were changed throughout the history. It is just majestic, to tell you the truth. I have to say, it is a bit weird and funny at the same time to be Teutons in one era and Mughals in another and Japanese after that. It's just silly, but good silly. I miss when games did good silly things. It always warms my heart. Overall, gameplay loop is satisfying and different enough from the Civ 6, for example. I can imagine myself playing Humankind for hundreds of hours, especially with some friends. Since it was a closed beta, it does not make much sense to talk about bugs and issues, so forget about them for now. One thing that irritated me was the fact that I could not force skip the whole turn. In Civ 6, it was Shift plus Enter, if I'm not mistaken. There was no such function here. From the moment I downloaded the game, I could not wait to play it. After small sessions, I wanted to play it again. It's sad that I could not play more. If you like Civ 6, then give this game a try too. Chances are you might like it too, and it's different enough to justify playing it. The game costs $60, but currently it's on the sale for $50, which is just perfect. I bought it for the second price, but I would have easily given for it $60. I don't know how many expansions they're gonna add in the future, but current content of the game is already enough for me at least. I just hope for the more cultures in the future. So this was the sort of an impressions kind of a video. Comment your thoughts down below and I'll see you comrades next time. Borislav out.